during those several meetings, we've been able to learn what their process is, what projects they think are important, and that's helped us to craft our letter in such a way that we align the projects that we believe are important to the county with projects that they believe are going to move forward, are important, and that there is either funding for or they're moving towards that funding and design. So as Alex will tell you, we've really synced up with SHA, and we think moving forward, this is a really good process. And also kind of outside of this priority letter process, just so you all know, we are now having regular meetings with SHA to talk about mundane everyday things, such as queuing at intersections or even just tall grass, those types of things. So we're meeting regularly with those folks, which is really great. We have a renewed relationship with SHA. In the past, we've taken the priority letter and we've put about 20 projects or more on that list. And then we determined where their priorities fell within the different categories, whether they be capacity, whether it be operations, transit, bike and pedestrian facilities. But we've changed that a little bit this year after our talks with SHA. And what we've done is we've created 10 key priorities. And those key priorities also include the priorities of the municipalities, Aberdeen, Harford, Grace, and Bel Air. And then instead of having this whole massive list of projects, over 20 projects, what we've done is we've said, okay, these are our 10 projects that we believe, in the spirit of cooperation with SHA, have the ability to move forward and are projects that are good and make sense. And then we haven't gotten rid of all those other projects that we previously had. What we've done is we've created an addendum to the priority letter to say, here are these other projects that we have. A lot of them are projects that have been on the list previously. But while we're not making it a part of the priority letter to say these projects we're pushing them, what we want to do is keep them on MDOT-SHA's radar, that these are still projects that we're considering, and these projects also may move into the key priorities as other ones those 10 come off the list, hopefully. So we want to keep them on the radar. And so, like I said, we have 10 projects that we consider to be key priorities, and we've ranked them in order of
it's basically ranked on funding priorities. So how we would want the projects to be funded. That's how they're ranked.
And so one of our key priorities is Maryland 22 at Maryland 136 and Maryland 22 at Maryland 155, which are two intersections that are right next to each other. We all know that intersection. It's a very tight pinch point there, and there's not a whole lot to work with. In the past, there's been a 22 study that identified significant improvements to that intersection, which looked at bypass lanes, which would require a significant acquisition of property in order to make happen. So what we've done in talking with SHA is said we're gonna make that project a little bit smaller and try to come up with some smaller solutions that will help to mitigate some of the issues we have at that intersection. And the Castle administration has done an excellent job of saying, we're going to go out and we're going to try to look at how we can move these projects along a little bit faster. So we're looking at property acquisition and things like that so that we can work, again, collaboratively with SHA to say, hey, we've acquired these properties. We can now do something with them, whether it be a roundabout or turn lanes or anything like that. We have that property in our back pocket. So that's good news. Also, priority number 2 is Maryland 23 at Grafton Shop Road. Former Councilman Schroeds, that's long been a priority of his, and that's a safety and operations priority. Another priority, number 3, is US 1 bypass at Maryland 24 interchange. That's also a capacity. If you are aware, at peak times when you're coming down the bypass and you want to make that left onto Route 1, the queuing goes way back. And so that would hopefully address the queuing issues there. And I believe that one is under design currently, correct, Alex?
Yeah.
It's currently under design, which is good news.
Hey,
so
Mr. Prim, could I put you on hold for one moment? I know
Sure.
Delegate McComas has her hand up. Delegate McComas? We were going to wait kind of till the end, but if you have a question on one project that he's already talked about, I guess it would be an okay time to address it. You're on mute. Delegate McComas, you're still on mute.
Okay, are we good? Can you
We're
hear
good.
me? Okay, real quick on the project one priority. Is there any chance we could get some federal funds because a lot of the traffic is horrendous on there? And I was thinking of people, you know, like 3:30 with the schools letting out and everything on 543 because APG probably has a lot of the traffic coming out at that time. And I was wondering if there was possibility to get some kind of federal funds because of the installation. That's all.
I'm going to defer to Alex on that question because he works with BRTB and he can answer where we might be able to look at funds.
Yeah, I do think that federal funds would be on the table and an option for this stretch of 22. You know, as Shane mentioned, the US 1 bypass at 24, that project receiving IIJA funds to move forward. So yeah, I think that this stretch of 22 would also be eligible for federal funds.
Great.
Thank you, Delegate McComas.
Thank you. Okay.
Number 4 on the list is Maryland 152 at 147, also a capacity improvement that we're looking at. And number 5, our folks down in Aberdeen, their priority is the Aberdeen Mark train station and improvements there. Obviously, that's a transit improvement. Number 6 is Maryland 7 at Stepney Roundabout. We have funds there at that intersection that have been distributed to the county from developments where developers have had projects there. And in lieu of constructing improvements, we've asked those developers to contribute to a fund which would ultimately lead to a better improvement at that intersection. And right now we're looking at potentially a roundabout. This is a project that, and Alex can correct me if I'm wrong, SHA, when we told them about this, that was not on their radar at all. And they didn't understand that there were some issues at that intersection with safety and operations. So now that is on their radar, and they seem to feel like it was good to keep that in the list of 10 and make that a key priority. Next, we have Business US 1 and Hay Street. That's the Town of Bel Air improvement, and that's for circulation improvements. Again, safety and operations has long been looked at with the US Route 1 study and how we can change some of the traffic flow and traffic patterns in Bel Air to improve some of that circulation. If you're familiar with where the Kentucky Fried Chicken is and sort of where the Black Box building is, it's kind of a maze of different ways and circulation patterns there. So to try to deal with that a little bit and improve that. Number 8 is Harford Transit new operations facility. We've outgrown our operations facility here in Harford County, so we're looking to build a new facility, and we are talking to Aberdeen about some locations potentially for that, although that hasn't been agreed upon yet as to where that facility actually will go. Next, number 9 is the City of Havre de Grace's key improvement, and that has long been on the list, and that's US 40 to Hayden Bridge congestion relief. It's more so been on the list previously for the Otsego intersection, Otsego and 40, which is extremely problematic from safety and operations. You have a bunch of different roads coming in at all kinds of different angles. But at this time, we believe that the appropriate approach is to look at US 40 at the Hayden Bridge and get some congestion relief there, which in lieu of major geometric improvements at the intersection, we believe that this will help. And lastly is Woodley Road Extended. Woodley Road is on the Perryman Peninsula. I'm sure you're probably all familiar with this. This is one of the roads that in our county transportation element plan from the 90s and then moving forward into our current master plan, Harford Next, was identified as one of the 2 roads that needed to serve the Perryman Peninsula. And I don't know, I'd say probably 7 or 8 years ago, maybe off a little bit, the developer of the Opus Eastgate property has what was shown as Road A at that time, and they were required to build that road because it was shown across their property. And about 2 miles of that road has been constructed. And for years now, we've been working with APG to try to get that connection to Maryland 715, which would be a huge relief for the Perryman Peninsula and getting some of that truck traffic off of the residential streets and out Woodley Road, which Road A is Woodley Road. and to 715. It's my understanding that there is funding available to make this connection. Lastly, we're not really asking for anything at this point, funding or anything like that. We're just asking this, we're putting this on the list so that we'll get support from MDOT SHA to continue to push this project forward. Is that a good analysis of that, Alex?
Yeah.
So that's so those are our 10 key priorities. I'm not going to go through the addendum list unless you have specific things you want to discuss. But again, just to tell you that we have taken the list and narrowed it down to 10 key priorities based on what SHA has told us about their process and how they take these projects to their leadership and move them forward. So we want to keep those 20 or so projects that aren't in the key priorities on the list so that SHA knows that they will be probably coming forward in future years on priority letters. So that's really our presentation at this time. And appreciate the opportunity for Alex and I to present this to you. And if you have any questions, certainly we'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay, yes, I do see. Thank you. I do see a question from Delegate Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you guys for coming explaining everything. My question's on number 10, the Woodley Road. We already have an MOU with the U.S. Army, and most of that road's been constructed. So is it prudent to have that on the list, or should we have put another priority since that one's already agreed upon for number 10?
We went round and round with that, and it seemed like the consensus from everybody was that it should be on the list in order to keep pushing that forward. I'm going to let Alex kind of give you some more of the background on that.
Yeah.
And can you tell us where we're at on that?
Yeah, so the reason, another reason why we're showing it is, just to show coordination. We're going to need continued coordination between, county, APG, and the state on moving that forward. We're not asking for funding from the state, but we are asking for coordination with the state. I believe that that some of the funding for that is going to come from federal funds, but in terms of showing it in our letter, we identified it as a key priority for the county, and in terms of just continued coordination with SHA, because we are, Woodley Road will intersect with a state road, so we're going to need their support and coordination on moving that forward.
And they, in our discussions with them, they agreed that it was a good idea to put this and keep this on the list.
Can you tell us where we're at with that project?
It's my understanding that they're still under design for it. There's a switch box, I believe, near where the road would cross through the Army's property, and I think that relocating that switch box is kind of a key piece to moving this project forward. So I think we're still at that point. So that's where we are. It's my understanding.
Right. Last I heard about it, there was some unexpected utilities that could be problematic, and so I think they're currently doing a utility investigation to see what would need to be done. And like Alex said, certain utilities moved. So I think that's where we're at right now.
So that is underway?
Still moving along, yes.
No, the utility investigation, that is underway currently?
That's my understanding, correct.
Okay. Can you find out for sure and get back to us on that?
Sure can. We'll get you a rundown on where we're at.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Johnson. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Graham or Mr. Rolls? Okay, seeing none. Well, thank you both for being with us and answering our questions and for sending the report down so that we could go through it. I like the concept of sticking with the top 10 and then pushing forward with that, and then then the others on the addendum. So good luck with your push, and if there's anything that any of the delegates or the delegation as a whole can do to support or assist you in any way to get these projects moving forward, we certainly will be available.
Great.
So
I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to just also take a real quick minute to thank Alex. Alex has been doing this for years. And it's a massive amount of work at this time of year, and a constant reshuffling and reconfiguration of the letters and the priorities and meetings. So he's done the yeoman's work here of getting all this ready for you all. Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you very much. And then before we close out the meeting, could I have our Vice Chair, Delegate McComas, could you please make a motion to approve both sets of minutes on the agenda? Unmute.
Oh, okay, I move that we approve the minutes of the, I think there's a couple sets, right?
Yes, because we had an emergency and then yes, and then the regular.
I move that we approve the emergency as well as the regular minutes.
Okay, and that was on 3/2/23 and 3/7/23, and who second? Okay, Delegate Arcan or Delegate Johnson, which one Cindy you saw first. Okay, everyone approve the minutes, just say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, raise your hand. Seeing none, minutes, both sets have been approved. Thank you very much. Now I need a motion. If there's no other business, we can have adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, see you.